Hi everyone, those who listen to us online. Thank you those who are here offline with a nice view to Luzhniki. The sun is bright, the sun is shining, our moods are high. I welcome you at the round table. It's not very round, as you can see, but we would like to talk about the role of leaders in keeping and promoting talents. I am Elena Chernikova. I am leading partner and founder of Invisible Force. We were called Culture of Innovations before. Today, the lecture was organized by Positive Technologies. Thank you very much for that. We are going to look at it from different viewpoints. What do we have here? Retaining and promoting people, how leaders can affect those processes. There are a lot of things that we say, okay, that's true, but I want to dig deeper, how to create a good, innovative environment for talents. Why are they leaving? And today we have several panelists, very bright leaders. It's not a mere coincidence that they are here. They have excellent experience, broad experience. They are solving these problems every day on a daily basis. We saw that the retaining the culture, corporate culture, is one of the top questions that everybody faces. The environment should be friendly. Here in this hall we have to discuss, not just talk about the best cases. In the screen you can see a QR code. You can get in and leave your questions there for these sessions. For about 40 hours to 1 hour, we are going to have a roundtable discussion, and then you will have a Q&A session. We're going to choose the best questions, the most urgent question. The more urgent, the better. The best questions will get the prizes. If the question is online, then we're going to think about it. If we meet in future at the next conference, tell me I am the person who asked that question and get the prize. Alexey Andreev, CEO Positive Technologies, the person who gathered all us here. Warm applause to him. Positive Technologies is developing at a tremendous speed. It's skyrocketing, and we follow that progress. We believe that's impossible to do without super talented people. How are you attracting them? How are you retaining them? How are you keeping them? What do you pay attention to? Another person is Alexander Kanivets. He is the executive partner of Samolet in the Moscow region. And in Samolet, about a year and a half ago, certain changes took places, changes of culture and leadership. It was not just a PR format. It was something more substantial, and the business results are obvious, and we're going to talk about why Samolet starts fighting for the best talents in the market. I think he will share with us too. Oksana Fetisova, head of human HR development. I believe that leadership is something that Oksana has been doing for many years. Shall I tell you? For too many years, perhaps, when people come to us, when I say, how long am I doing this, I realize that sometimes I do it longer than they are here on Earth. Oksana has been dealing with technological companies for a long time, and he knows personally the answers of what to do with leaders. Can we affect the leaders, powerful leaders? So what do we have to do with them? And Kirill Yukhnevich, head of internal communication of Yandex. Yandex continues to be role model in the market. Everyone wants to deal the way Yandex does, but the company has its challenges, its issues, and it works with the people who create excellent products, and the company must keep talents inside the company. So that's what we're going to talk about. Let's see how discussion is going on. The first question is to each and every panelist, but please be very brief, no more than a minute or two. So the problem of retention of talents and development of talents is one of the top 3 issues. Is that right? That's my question. Is that right for you? Although these 4 companies are excellent, people try to get in, and we believe that people go to your companies. Nevertheless, if this is true, can you tell us what has changed in the last 2 years? What is the specifics of your operations now? Well, Kirill, are you ready? Yes, I believe it's quite simple. From the viewpoint of economics and demography, we are at the lowest point. Physically, in the market, we don't have enough people. And of course, that was quite predictable a few years ago. And we realize how long it will take place. It will take more than 4 to 5 years. Then when a new generation, which is a bit bigger than the present one, will enter the market. Education is also at different levels of its development, and the companies have to retrain the graduates very often. And when an employee becomes efficient, well, it takes place, and after the university, the company has to re-educate the people. So it takes time and effort, that's all. Well, I would like to go into details. So each company has its context, its peculiarity. Globally, for the market, we have a disproportion between middle office and juniors, because the middles and the seniors can work in any country of the world, and lack of middles cannot help us to boost the juniors. Talking about our company, well, we are a constellation of different businesses, media, cross-platforms. We're not a classical company. In our case, we need cross roles, which do not exist in other countries. Where can we take a person who works with bloggers, for example? Thank you. It's your turn. So 2 questions. The first is it truly top 3 for our company, and what has changed in the recent years? Yes, that's true. Top 3. Our specifics is that we deal with production, manufacturing, and we should not only find talents in the Moscow region when we need 25,000 workers, we have 21. We lack 4,000. Some people come and go, we continuously lack several thousand people in production. What has changed? 2 things. First, the people themselves. They realize that there is lack of manpower, and they try to ask for more. And second, we need composite roles, cross roles. Designers have to program. Lawyers should be aware of IT systems, parsers, and so on to react faster. So the life is becoming more complex. Alexey? Well, actually, the problem was staying for many years. The more you are, the higher you are, the higher are your ambitions. What has changed? Geopolitics affected us. Many people went, some people came back. And I'm looking at it from a different viewpoint. It's not only the fact that we lack people, manpower. We had so many changes in the industries, in high tech now. We can develop products that no other country has. And if we choose the right way and concentrate the cases, I know the people who came from Microsoft to our company. Well, that's our pride. The worst thing we can do, especially when in such turbulence, is losing people. We need something that would attract people. We have to keep on attracting. We are now in an unsafe zone, in a turbulent zone, but we have good cases, and when we talk to people who come back from top high-tech world-class companies, they say if they knew what is happening here, what kind of ambitions are here, of course, we would have even more people than before. So we have to make people aware of our ambitions. We are not just surviving, we are developing top-class technologies. In Stanford, I talked to investors. I asked them, what about Russian founders? They say, excellent, they are the best founders in the world. So, Alexey, let me continue. What is the good environment for talents? What kind of specific requirements that they have? What can you do to attract such people who come to you from Microsoft? What are the factors that affect their decision? Well, let me give you a complex answer. First, I look at myself. What defined my decisions to join this or that company? I remember when I graduated, I was a good student and I had job offers in my diploma. Samsung, Huawei, and some other. They had excellent centers, you come there, but I didn't feel their ambitions. What do they want? I went to Acronis because of two reasons. It was the most complex interview. I didn't think I will be adopted. I answered 2 out of 20 questions. Well, for a graduate, it's normal. Usually it's 0. We just think how you think. And second, they had the most powerful team. Which you touched. I felt their ambition. An international company that was growing very fast, ahead of top companies like Symantec, for instance, where I worked for 9 years then. And I believe the next step was I chose the company that I knew why I went there. This idea affected me, and while I was professionally growing, I still thought about why I go to this company. What do I think now? I am positive. I am in positive technologies because of that. When I joined, positive technologies had 400 people and shining eyes. And I said, I want there. I want there. I want to work with that team to reach their goal. I didn't come to the best financial terms, not to the highest position. At 30 plus, I wanted to do something real, something good with the people that I believed, that I trusted. And Positive thought that Positive hired me. I hired Positive for my life. Well, as an example, I am not the only person to do that. Who hires whom? We hire the company or the hires me. I wanted to look at the boss. I wanted to look at the CEO. Is that the CEO that I would like? I chose them. And when I demonstrated my talents, when I boosted my talents, my requirements grew up. Am I going to do something routine, or am I going to do something very good, something high, something best of breed, best of class? If I reach the high position, so what? It's more interesting for me to think what I really did. So for me, it's necessary to divide people into several groups. It defines the corporate culture. So there are people who want higher salary, higher position, and that's their criterion. No, that's not a person for us. If we talk about the thing to do, about real business, of course, money is important and career is important, but what you can really create, what you can do, this is my top priority now. And we have a practice when 7 persons come to us and we look at them for 3 months and we talk to them personally. So how it is? What about environment? What about the people? What about comparing us with somebody else? And I like when people who came to us from Facebook or Amazon, we have such people. Not many, but still some of them came to us. They say, well, this is young Amazon, the Amazon which Amazon used to be when it jumped. People who did Amazon at the very early stage. So that's what you are. And this is what we need. This is what we have to do every day. How young, how ambitious, how fresh you are. And what about other people? Do they associate you with something fresh? Well, that's why I think continuous checkup, continuous verification. So what about you? How do other people from outside look at you? How they view you? Are they ready to join you about this ambition? We were cash negative for several years, but nevertheless, we wanted to make our company just like this. And that's what we achieved. We're ready to give away everything to the last penny. The spirit of startup, even in the big company, not a small company. We have to keep it on and on and on. Thank you. It's very inspirational. It's very motivating. I heard a phrase from one of the persons here who has been in Amazon Web Services. Positive if one of the companies that he would be ready to come back. That's good, because he went back many years ago. He went there many years ago. Positive, I heard once something positive appeared in my life. A good phrase. We started hearing about you several years ago. We have Yandex, a company which regularly have been attracting talents despite catastrophic changes. At many conferences, I hear that Yandex is not it used to be. Yandex is already different. It lost something of some of its attractiveness. Kirill, what about you? What do you think of your environment? As a company which is in market for many years, it has its own shape. And how do you continue attracting the best talents? How do you attract them? Well, I think my colleague has told you a lot about it. Yandex, perhaps because of different factors and because of our concentrated efforts, continues reproducing good corporate culture, its basic culture, with entrepreneurship, technological visionary things. Powerful people join powerful companies and powerful leaders. That's true. If a person wants to feel powerful, he needs competition. We have a lot of businesses, we have a very powerful environment, very tense environment, competitive environment. We turn competition into something positive, into co-opetition. Cooperation plus competition. We have an ecosystem. Yandex is very different. We have different businesses at different levels of maturity, and right now, such huge businesses that we're talking about are very important. And of course, a big company has big opportunities, and that is important when we need hardware, we need software, we need physical resources. Yes, this is a mix of a startup mentality and a large corporation mentality. Well, in our research, we asked questions to innovative talents. What do they like most of all? Three factors, actually. We saw it would be many, but we had about 200 companies there, but they say the same. Top three were the same. It's persons that I work with every day, that I can develop and learn from. Second, ambitious goals. Not just a big goal, but it should be logical. It should be filled with something real. Not just a billion, but a billion why? With the help of which product? And third, they need results. Why did they leave large corporation? Because they had ambitions, they had goals, but it took so much effort until you break through internal bureaucracy. They didn't see the results, and they came to more agile, smaller companies. And we didn't see a leader in that three goals. But when we make onboarding individual interview, people always talked about leaders. I wanted to ask Sasha, who came from the company which did a lot to transform the leadership model inside your business. As you said, you are a manufacturing company with appropriate cultural codes, and within the several years, super talented people, high-tech talents, went to you and opened a lot of new products and services. My question is like this: what is the role of leaders in your company, apart from environment, and can the company manage that leadership role? Good question, actually. Talking about the leaders, I recall a research when we checked statistically the influence of CEO on business. Statistically, no, zero. But this is statistics. What about the culture? If you take corporate culture, you will certainly see correlation between corporate culture and CEO. In the last year and a half, we managed to tell the top leadership and make them aware how they can affect corporate culture. First, personal example: do the right thing. Let all others people see the way you behave. You behave this way, and everybody else should do the same. This is the first point. Second, I would say that apart from being an example, protect the company from what is not within your cultural code. If there are top leaders who do not match your corporate code, you have to fire such people. Last year, we also did the same. We fired one of the CXOs because of mismatch with corporate culture. Of course, you cannot fire everyone. You have to protect your ozone layer from something which wants to protect, to break in from a side. Government agencies, board of directors. A good leader should be a firewall. Of course, he should listen and did inside the company what is right. So the wrong external ultraviolet rays are stopped at the level of CEO. And of course, to deal with corporate culture, you have to structurize it, what it is, what you want to achieve and where you are now at this point, and how to organize the work in order to reach the goal from the viewpoint of corporate culture. Thank you very much indeed. And when I listened to you, some new questions popped up. It's important for me to ask Oksana, because Oksana has been dealing with leadership upgrade, and we often hear, Sasha, for example, said that the role of leader is to be an example. We want to see good examples. HR people and employees come and say, I have a wrong leader. I want to affect my leader, but how can I do that? The leaders come and said, I have a leader below me, and I do something about him, manage him. So education is needed here. And are there any other tools or methods to upgrade leaders, to make them right? Of course, I can show you a dull competence matrix, but, well, I think that today, taking into account the first question about lack of manpower in the market, it's important to work with different people, the people who are not like each other, who are different, and you have to change them. You have to help them get in terms with the others, get in touch with the others, come to terms with the others. We are talking about personalities. It would be ambitious, but you have to become a legend inside your function, inside your company as a whole, inside industry and company. If you are a legend, so it's very important. You are an example, a good example, and then you can show your non-ideal character, because a true leader, Dr. House, for example, he is not an ideal.
In that sense, being a legend, it means that you can attract a lot of talents, which, other things being equal, are ready to sacrifice some mundane things. I have a colleague, a friend friend of mine, my former colleague, who is a real star in the area of big data, and he was #1 in email at Coursera, and he is an author of a Telegram channel on how to fulfill himself. That's easy for him to attract people because he is very well known and he has his personal brand. And the third part, this is my personal thing. Today, a leader cannot, but really has to be an HR. That means that certain things related to BI, to exit, to offer, we have to keep that on the agenda, and you have to show some digital HR indicators. Unfortunately, it means that the HR has to dig into that and sell these data. Thank you so much. Let me add something. I think that there was a question as how you can become a leader, and we came back to the fact that everything is connected and to the leader. Everything depends on the leader. Certainly, we cannot overestimate the role of a leader. The last 2 years were extremely difficult. Extreme leadership was very important, and every person in the team was the factor contributing to sustainability. It was a kind of a test, maturity test for many. There is a very important institutional function there of HR. Still, we have to create necessary infrastructure that, in case of certain mistakes or in case of poor leadership, would mean that the employee would be protected and would not be left alone, one-on-one with that, on his own. You have to build an environment that would help a man to find his role, his place within the company, regardless of whether he or she is satisfied with the leader. And some people actually may even outperform their leaders, surpass their leaders. It would require separate work along with the development of leaders, creating right managerial media, starting from security perimeter in the company. For instance, if we look at combating harassment, there have to be some independent tools when you may send a message sounding an alarm and ending with the clear-cut structure when the person may understand where he may move on the career ladder within the company. Even bearing in mind the key role of a leader, every company has to have some independent structure that would upscale strong people. The environment and the corporate governance system and the motivation have to serve to this end. Okay, Kirill, let us continue the dialogue regarding how that space could be created within the business. All in all, we are supporting the idea of developing the culture of culture. When the business, even if the product is the same, if the service is the same, some cultures would be different in IT, in retail. And it would be more convenient for different types of people. But in Yandex, you have lots of products. Tell us, please, how you manage this diversity of cultures. Can you create something new, and do the people find where else they can move? Well, that's a very complex story, in the sense that everything would depend on the context. Yandex, despite that, this is the culture of cultures, and I will elaborate on that a little bit later, but nevertheless, the culture of cultures should not be confused with a conglomerate of organizations or departments which are diverse, but it happens so that they are merged. Now, this has to be kind of a cooperation, diversity. You have to be ready, to be prepared to invest into somehow fix that diversity, to spend time on explaining something to a person who thinks differently. The situation is easier for Yandex because we all proceeded from one business unit. So first we have created a search engine, and then we went on making a market, right tech, and other products which are very different and very diverse. But again, we originated from one place, and this helps us a lot. But still, this is a wide range of cultures. I think that fundamentally, what we're historically lucky and what we have to retain, this is accepting others. We accept diversity. In terms of written and unwritten values, we accepted that in that room there would be very diverse people, and they have to come to terms nevertheless. That's difficult. It makes the whole infrastructure costlier. For instance, we arrange a corporate New Year party, and it is celebrated the same day in dozens of countries and cities, and on the same day, but in different languages. But everyone has to feel the sentiment, and making it happen is more costly and more sophisticated. So we have to think twice whether that business really has reached the stage when it needs that. Many monocultural companies live very well. But now many companies have very powerful, very strong IT departments that are totally independent from the production. For instance, for your company, you have to have about 10 data scientists, and that might be a very big challenge. It would require a lot of input. You have to recognize that people might be different. You have to allow for freedom of expression. And when you assess the work of the peers, of the colleagues, you have to support them. Well, thank you. What if a company, Sasha, and the question goes to you. For instance, if the company wants to transform itself, and first of all, when you started developing leaders and the culture, certainly it was in Samolet even before, and the company achieved a lot of results on that way. But what were the precursors of such a conscious approach? Why? Probably any tricks of trade. If the business wants to focus on that, what stages it has to go, and what questions it wants to answer, has to answer. So, what was the predictor? What was the precursor? It went just like it has to go. We proceeded from the business goals about 2 years ago. Samolet. It was the first or the second year of our growth. It was end of 2021 or early 2022 when we realized that in terms of the strategy that we attached to, in order to keep up the growth pace, we need strong people, and we need those talented people from various fields and areas. It doesn't work just building houses. We have to focus on fintech-related real estate. We have to focus on furniture, and for that, we need not only the constructors, but we need designers and architects. Many of them left the country, and now they are living in London, and you have to offer something to make them come back. We need IT specialists, the financiers who would develop sophisticated financial products. For that, we need culture and ideas that would be attractive for the people, and we need something to pull people together. Culture-to-culture merger was another objective, and then we decided to systematize that. Step number one is to understand where we want to go, who we need for that, and then the question is what they need from us, how we're going to sell ourselves, so that they would want to build that project along with us. That very moment, we started investigating, researching. We started researching our personnel, just like we do for the clients who are buying our services. The innovative culture was very helpful, and in essence, we broke down the decision-making process into different factors. That was about the trust culture. Besides, there would be some goals that are shared by our personnel. We want the people to have a good experience of moving. When, for instance, you don't have to think about your repair, where you have good neighbors who you know, and you are part of the same community, not just random people you don't want to meet. We collected statistics in order to understand what we may offer to the people, and we proceed from that. We had to change the mindset of people, to restructure the processes. Some managers in the project teams could hardly be convinced that feedback should be provided not using the word words, but more structurally. Step by step, we started changing that corporate culture. Then we realized that we have to measure that. So we issued a lot of questionnaires to see whether we are keeping our promise. Regularly, we identify some troublesome areas in certain teams or in some processes, and we move along that way. In terms of the result, we were quite good. In 2023-22, actually, the engagement grew about 15%. In terms of NPS, we're 10% up. And we even did not expect that the gender balance improved. So the ratio is 52 to 48 men to women. In terms of salaries, they are not different. So it means that we have such side effects or aftershocks of such a cool development. Okay, and I remember you told us about that super idea of life by subscription, a general concept, easy to understand, and your slogan was to rotate the planet, one of the slogans. I remember saw that when the people got the story, they just were surprised, and then they would say, German Gref wanted something about that, and probably Samolet will do that much faster than Gref, because you are building real estate. You can make sure that the whole life of a person is driven by his location. I have another question to follow that topic about the culture of cultures. And you said that these new guys have come, you promised something, you started measuring. But what happened to the companies and to the people who were already there, how they perceived those changes? Well, they perceived that differently, in essence. They split into three categories. There was a category of people who rejected those changes, because the change in the culture is not just making people happy, but sometimes you have to work more, harder, or differently. Not all the people were prepared for that. Some didn't want that, and they left our team. Others were quite cynical. They went on working, but they are not numerous. I would say that 60 to 70% of the old team, they perceive that after 2 or 3 months of changes, when they realized what it gives to them, and they say, oh, this is a new way to live, now they have become a part of that culture. Once we do measurements within the values, this is what we rolled out here, last year. 6 months after we launched the changes, if we use that funnel, I know the values, I know what they're about, so 80% know what it means, and 75% see that these values are really being practiced. So it means that the team is living with that culture and is wearing the merch. When I walk around the office, I see that all the people are wearing the merch of the company. Okay, sounds good. Alexey, I have another question to you. And I've changed my schedule. My original plan, my question is related to the following. Very often, the company may attract talents, buy the talents for certain money or for certain projects or certain things that might be valuable for the people. For instance, the way you have to work. But we see that the same people in the same teams either deteriorate in terms of their potential, but in other teams they would improve their potential. And today we already said that positive technologies, with the help of the team, with the help of motivation, help people to grow. How you help talents fulfill themselves? Well, that's a very profound question. And as far as I started speaking about my own history, my own story, there is another story to tell you. It happened so that I talked many people out of becoming managers when we spoke about leaders. And, for instance, I would approach this man and would say, no, this is not yours. If you want more money, then we can fix it. You don't have to become a manager because the team leader, the head of the function of the unit earns more. I think that when we speak about the talent development, first and foremost, this is about creating an environment where everyone would find himself, not just using the one-size-fits-all model, but when a person sees what is more efficient for him. It was my very hard journey from becoming a technician to a manager. For instance, in the morning, you put on your headsets, you read the code, and some people walk around. And I had a plate on my table. I'm not available until 2 o'clock. I hate any stand-ups before 2 o'clock. Why? Because you're charged with energy, and managers disturb you with certain questions. Do you want me to read the code, or you want me to just sign a status? So wait until 2 o'clock when I have lunch and when I'm exhausted, and then I will be ready to answer any questions. And I had a plate. Actually, I'm writing the code, and the phrase that followed was in tabooed words. So we focus on creating such an environment where people could find themselves, that people do the business that they have to do, fundamentally, that they're designed to do, to make sure that this environment is convenient for them, is comfortable for them. Second thing which is important, we have to get rid of red tape, travel and everything else which is not related to my core business. Has to be just available to me but not bothering me. Second important thing is we want to somehow discover the talents. And I have some more stories to tell you. No, we are not pressing you. So the weather is good and the company is good. When I was a student, and I had to go to Germany there was some academic exchange, and I was a good student and had such an opportunity. And I said, okay, I will go to Germany. I get an appointment to a dentist, and he said, why? Everything is great. And I said, I'm leaving for Germany. Is it an academic exchange? He asked. What do you do? Just, I want to obtain my thesis there. And she said, are you a smart person? I said, no. And she said, well, who knows what we're capable of. Actually, this is a fundamental thing. When developing the environment that would prompt you to discover your talent. So that's a question. Who knows what you're capable of? And creating this environment that would prompt you to discover your talent. This is the most important thing that the company may do, that the people would become the better version of themselves. What can be done? There are different approaches. For instance, Olympiads, starting from school years. I was not a very good school student because I was not interested before the IT courses started, and fortunately, this started. And I was fed up with mathematics and physics, and this is a question of a precedent. Once you create a precedent, it would impact the way you were trying to find yourself, what you may succeed in, what you are strong at. I was born in some remote city, and when we had some small talk, and when a professor, well, actually, when I said I turned on the computer when I was 16 years old, and the professor said, oh my gosh. So probably he saw some talent in me. And creating such a precedent, when you may touch something, when you support that, this is dramatically important for the people to try to look for something. This is not just like people are looking around to find a talent. You have to discover your own talent. There's another thing which is called foundation. I think that the United States did a whole revolution. It's called, well, these are the Chinese. They created that foundation in response to the first sanctions against Huawei. They realized that if they do not mobilize the industry, they would be isolated from all the third-party technologies, and they would stop in their technological progress. What we see, the latest Huawei smartphones are released, and 90% of technologies are Chinese-made. Well, these technologies, microchips, were not available back in 2018, and now they have their own manufactured products, not replicated ones. So why I'm telling you that story? I think that it is very important in terms of the environment that the company can create. You have to create an environment where you can try yourself without fearing a punishment or a penalty. So, as the incumbent Minister of Defense said, you are allowed to make mistakes, but you're not allowed to tell lies. We all think about how to retain that spirit of a startup, because eventually a company turns into a machine with processors, people, gears, and in the United States, there are people who call themselves ex-Google. So people leave Google because all the good topics have already been raised, and you're just a screw within that machine, and the person wants something new, trying something new. What we do? We offer some new ideas. So when the people come to us with new ideas, and for instance, we may immediately take a decision to launch a project for about 70 people and extend funds for that. We don't need any session of the board of directors. And our technical managers understand what is better for the company. This is a very sophisticated process to get such a freedom, but I think that this is fundamentally important. Otherwise, we would become an IBM, and certainly the growth of the company would result in some complex decisions. So there are innovations and there is a strategy, and we have to divide those things, keep them separate. Talents are innovation-driven, and once you become a big company, you lose that innovative spirit. And the last story is about an experience. We're just like all adults, we know a lot, and we have made some journey, and we're backed by our experience, but this is our weakness as well, especially in high-tech industry. The world is changing so fast, especially in the last years, and yesterday we argued a lot about AI, chatbots, and autopilots emerge, bots emerge, and I'm 40 years of age, 40 years old, and I keep thinking how not to limit other people with my experience, because they are more hands-on on what emerges, because I have a lot of legacy, I have a lot of outdated experience, and that's very important to ask that question again and again, because the high-tech race would be lost all of a sudden, just like BlackBerry died, like Nokia died, and the giant becomes nothing, no one. For us as a high-tech company, and probably that's important for Yandex as well, not to rest on laurels in the sense that we have created a technology, a system, disruptive technologies. We have created them. We are not creating them any longer, because progress takes place somewhere else, and probably tomorrow the software developers would do something different. They would do prompt engineering, for instance. I'm a software developer myself. I was writing in C++. I have a lot of friends employed by Yandex. I know everything about Yandex. I don't think that our HR is the same. Tomorrow we may become obsolete, and it would be just a strike for us when another startup pops up and would outperform us. If you want the talents to discover themselves, we have to create an environment when we can support but not restrict, saying that we have a fine-tuned system, we are push, we are promoting our strategy, but tomorrow, in essence, we realize that the new gold was there, and we missed that because we were not capable of identifying it. That environment is very complex. That's a real challenge that Google failed. They had lots of opportunities, but the latest breakthroughs are made not by Google. They have a lot of inertia, but they are not backed by innovations. And some time ago, Google, I was almost about joining Google. I was doing some technical interviews with them. How we keep up that balance when you understand which way to go, and you have to restrict yourself. I think that the technology is quite simple. There have to be different, diverse, and talented people capable of planning, of doing. That's very difficult. But every company, I think, anyway, does it its own way. Every company, especially technological company, has to invest into R&D. And for instance, if you have a lot of money, you invest in the strategically important markets, and if you're short of money, then you have to get talents locally. And I would add something. I remember another term. We have free radicals. We call this way just the guys who have to have some free time, and they have to look around, and they are curious enough, and they have the opportunity to find some new ideas. And we tell them, just leave, we will pay you a lot, and just we would like to have you in our environment. And this is pertinent to our culture as well. Any person may come up with their point of view on any service, product, or anything, regardless of whether they have anything to do with that. And this is perceived very well as a norm. And very often it will surprise the people who were not brought up in such an environment.
Well, a lot of people realize that they know more than I do in my sphere. And those people who deal with Yandex know that each person in Yandex has his own opinion. But the question is interesting. It's a matter of a person's capability and desire to help. Yes. Yes, I had a good idea. What we did is, well, from the viewpoint of attracting talents, some people said construction, we have to sell the construction, restructuring sometimes is more interesting than construction because it's more interesting. Restructuring or refurbishing old houses, it's more interesting than building something anew. In the same way, you take something which already exists and starts changing it in such a way that will make it quite different, and it's different from what we saw previously. From the viewpoint of environment, it's a philosophy when you minimize the number of points when a person sees himself that he is an idiot. For example, find points when a person lost his way in the office, when he didn't understand who is his boss. If you extend such a test, everything that you do for such company as a service, as a HR, this is something to find a good environment for the people. Let me ask you, I know you, and I know that you like figures, facts and figures. If you look at the top level, we heard about key things, people, environment, leaders. Are there any people that you would recommend to the leaders? What kind of figures they have to monitor? What kind of metrics, what coefficients, indices that are really important in your view to see the red zone or maybe the yellow zone? I would put it differently. Don't believe HR figures, because analytical maturity is not a strong point of HR people. That's why I don't like HR. Always ask how you got such figures. And people who deal with analytics, they have to apply the same methods to HR. Of course, 80% of motivation, but how did you get the figure? For example, there are some slowly motivated and very highly motivated. That on average, it's 80%. It's nice, but inside this very metric, I would dig deeper. I would go to the lower level. Exit, for example. Why do they leave? Why? How did you get the answer? Did you ask them before he leaves? Did he ask him after he leaves? Or did he ask him 2 weeks after he left? Which is the truest opinion. Sometimes we just ignore the figures that HR provides. Well, be attentive, be careful about the figures that you have. They may be quite standard. If you don't take any special HR big data things when you can predict something, I know some of the solutions that we did with HR. In simple data, in raw data, you can find very interesting insights. Well, thank you very much. And now we are going to close the general discussion. I have the last question to all of you. Give me brief answers. Please tell me, did you manage to ask the question through QR code? Yes, you did. Good. We have a microphone anyway, so please think while the speakers are answering the last question, think about your questions, please. I have a brief question. You are super leaders, and your companies are very interesting, leading ones in the market. What are you talking now today? What are you working on today? What kind of quality you want to change? Which area you want to update to attract more people? How would you like to be I lost a legend. How are you trying to become a legend? Just what is your focus now? Who is ready? Yes. I deal with development. I already have ready-made answers. With HR, I would say that I must have my say in the areas which are beyond HR capacity, in adjacent areas. At the end of 2022, it's history. At the end of 2022, on January 21, I had some spasms in the eye, and people said, "So something is wrong with your eye." So on January 3, it stopped. So while everyone was celebrating the new year, it was spasmodic. I didn't like the results of the year. So I had to make a report and relax. On the contrary, I saw that I didn't do a lot that I wanted to. Talking about the result, this is exactly what I am doing now. We have management department where I am not part of. This is my focus now. In a year's time, technological strategy of the company should be generated not by people who did it before, but by new people, fresh people. For me, this is key. I want to become redundant. Yes, charismatic leaders are not working, so new talents want to create a good environment for yourself. Yes. Whatever you do, you must give freedom of action to the people. Of course, we are pressed by time. I often take people for myself, a person who would help me. No, you must hire people not for yourself, but for the team. Because that is my my aim, my purpose. This is a great shift of mindset. To continue the story, I'm trying to formulate, I need a flat structure so that we have fewer layers of the hierarchy. In any flat culture, there is a leader. If flat structure doesn't work, the leader takes charge. So I would like to have such instances to be as rare as possible, so that the flat structure would work properly. And often we have several flat structures, but they must interact with each other. And very interesting, architects don't understand why the results are needed by that date. IT people don't understand why they have to prove to the accounting department that they that the investment will be returned. So my zone of development is to explain to different teams how they can work without myself. Interesting concept. I heard about it. Pixar innovation director told me about it. I'm a friendly manager. I help people. Just listen. You can do it this way or that way. I want people to be friendly to each other and interact with each other efficiently. Kirill? Well, I also think almost the same historically. We hire people to the team that I am a leader of. We had 4 teams, and I would like them to work together in the right way so that they could develop products of a higher level, and then they will have some other tasks. But this is what we have at the beginning, for the time being. Now let's move over to Q&A. I am going to look at the questions sent through the QR code. Yes. Unfortunately, the addressee is not indicated. Who is the question to? Maybe to all of you. What are the methods and the tools that you use to motivate leaders to improve their talents? We can motivate it differently. Who can answer the question? Well, female leadership. I am always the first to answer. Well, there are some obvious things that we can even skip. If the merch is all right, if the brand is all right, people like it. For sure. I have another tool which might be interesting when you build a professional brand for the person who works in your company. Take to concierge service the wrapping in the expertise. I want to teach, but I don't have the time to generate a presentation. If you are ready to share, that person will cooperate with you and help you next time if you help him. So, help, share. What was the question again? How can you motivate and stimulate a person? to boost the talent. The positive technologies doesn't know the answer. Can you? Because some people would like to develop, they are looking for the opportunity to develop. But previous experience says we had a research about toxic experience. First experience sometimes can be quite toxic. When a person says, cannot cope with this work, and it's very difficult to remotivate a person. Said, no, you are capable. It's very difficult. What are the tools to motivate such person from the very beginning? I'm not ready to answer this question. But I have a story. Actually, what do? We have Olympic Games. We gather groups and teach them. We have education inside the company. When we teach advanced technologies that we believe that people must start using. For example, we have a group who just graduated from one of the courses, 100 persons, machine learning and artificial intelligence. They are developers, mature developers, but they don't know what machine learning is, because they work every day, they are overloaded, and machine learning can pass them by, or they can pass by machine learning. Are you afraid that they will learn and leave? No. I am afraid that they will not learn and stay. That is worse. Do not push them to development. Just teach them. Create environment when people start learning, as if it's a school, as if it's a university. They cannot teach because they work. They should generate code every day. But we invest in these zones of development by teaching. But teaching breakthrough advanced technologies within their working time. And if a person signed for the course, they know that for these 6 hours or 4 hours, he is not going to be in his workplace. He will learn instead. That's how we stimulate. Do we need to develop? Yes, we do. Those who want to develop will do that. And we provide environment for them. Lectures, open lectures, courses, and give them the time to learn, because they have to develop. Yes. Well, the second question is what are you going to advise to the leaders who loses the target because the target is too long terms, or because they cannot reach the target because of a lot of changes, because context changes, tasks changes every time, and the team burns up, loses motivation? What can we do? Let me try to answer. The context is close to many of my teams. Continuous changing, continuous changes, continuous remakes every 3 weeks. It's very close to me. Practically, what can I advise? Please agree on preliminary results or intermediate results, because in 2 or 3 weeks you did something. So you have some intermediate result. Yes, it's necessary to redo it, but we already have something, we achieved something. And the team should realize who he works for and see that his life is becoming better. For example, stress overloads happen when you show how a person says, wow, I did it, and this is good. And the group says, wow, that's what we did. We helped that person. Please show that to them. Show them good results. sometimes there is no space for something new, for some fixation, and then focus on skills that help you overcome difficulties. That also can be a supporting tool. One more question: how today, for medium and small business to keep a talented person, if a blue giant like Gazprom offers huge salary? We often hear that talented people are attracted by very high salaries. How can small business retain such a person? Sasha, no, no way. Just leave this idea and find young people. Well, if a person leaves you for a larger salary, let him go. Let him go. If he is doing something good, if he works with a good idea for a good purpose, he will stay despite higher wages. And initially take people who do not prefer the big blues. But if he reaches the level when he needs that, let him go. One more question. We have some time. Oh, yes, for 2 or 3 questions. What can you advise to CEO not to lag behind his good, excellent team? You look at me, I know you know my CEO. I would say take a pause when you work with such team and delay your first reaction, because if the people do not look like me, my CEO understands that. First he says, why are you playing games instead of doing business? But 6 months later he says, well, it's all right. If you disagree, take a pause. Do not display your disagreement at once. Take a pause, think. I also have an example. I had a schoolboy who worked in my team. When you work in a consulting company, when we develop a super session for top managers, we need a helper who is going to connect equipment, and he says, I'm sorry, I have a control work at school. That's good, because it's a different way of thinking, and you learn from him every day. Do not impose your culture, learn from him. And the person said, yes, I was person who did physical work, and I keep in tonus. When I meet a word that I don't understand, I Google at once to understand what is happening, and I continuously grow, continuously develop. From manual job, I went to top leadership of the company. If people with this tool reach the result,
три недели в него, значит, рассказываю что-то, и никто на меня не подписывается, это не значит, что инструмент не работает, это значит,
if in Instagram nobody reacts to what I say, it doesn't mean that the instrument is bad. It means that I am a bad Instagram blogger. So there are 2 components here, and I use them. First, be connected to industry. How? Talk to people, interact with people who solve the same problems in other companies, because you will see a lot of good things which you didn't mention before, and it might be useful to you. It's very dangerous to focus inside. Sometimes you have to look outside. That is good and useful. Second, technology, team, people, approach, everything is needed. Strange as it may seem, for me it's very important. Have a good HRBP who connects to you, who interacts with you, and who sends back information. She is your partner, and she looks at how your team is developing, and she looks from outside. It's a good thing. Well, some people, I hear a deep sigh through the screen, because all HR people would like to have such leaders who are ready to, who is waiting for you to come back. Sasha, what about you? Yes, the question itself, how not to lag behind the team, says that you have to hire the people that you lag behind from, the people who are ahead of you. And they will be faster than you, better than you, and you will learn and grow up. I believe that my people should know technology better than I do. I can ask them questions for them to go and have another look somewhere else and get more data. Same here. How often? It's a question to positive technologies, but everyone can answer. How often do talents burn up in your company, and how do you prevent it? Are there any preventive measures? They burn out because of routine. Routine burns people. What do we do? People change their profiles, because routine does exist. You have to automate it to maximum. No one wants routine, but for many people, routine is the first thing they do in the company. But you have to get them out of routine early enough before they leave your company. Another burning method is when your eye starts spasmodically behave itself. So please reduce your workload. In positive. We are always in that state. So we are in R&D transformation now. We are not going to end it. This is a continuous process. We always have something better and better. Sales are in the fourth level of transformation now. Why? We're burning out. We're overloaded. We cannot stop now. So we have a good system, it will work. No, we have something better. We have another goal ahead. What saves us? It's because of ambition. Last year it was pack of culture, today Luzhniki. Oh, it's a challenge. We did it. It's good. We collected a lot of people. We're tired, yes. 3 days, 24 hours. No drugs. What are the preventive instruments that help you prevent? Yes, there are such tools. Last year, we had installed a new HR system. We're going to offer it in the market now. it has a preventive burn-up module. Yes, big data, a lot of factors, a lot of data, but the best thing is attention to your people, attention to your team. How to prevent? We have different stickers that we attach to our hardware. In my notebook, there was a sticker, I replace burning up to something else. If you do something interesting, if you grow up fast, you have to work hard. And that's only natural. And you will have a lot of physical stress, but what happens after that? If you get good result, it pays well enough. It's a good payoff for your efforts. And it's so nice. And you move on. I recall a joke about 4 phases of burn up, and then fuck it off. So don't lead it to the 4th level. Once we predicted burn up and churn, and I can support my colleagues, a very simple idea. At a predictive level, people, the system makes mistakes. So predictive system is good, but please go and talk to people personally. Yes. If the system just shows you persons that you have to talk to, do the leaders go and talk? And can the people talk efficiently? Well, in one of the banks, I said, so 15% of people are on the brink of leaving. I said, but can you just say that they are going to go? Let them go. Well, so what about a question from the audience? I want us to see each other. Thank you very much. You had good questions, but we want the audience. So we were talking about doing something positive for the team, cultural environment, comfortable environment. What about the leader who is leading the team? He also needs a positive environment, support. Where do you find a good environment and support? Where can we find a resource for yourself as a leader? Thank you. Good question. Well, we shall stop the event. That is the end. No, I think, what do I like? I like to work with people who are spiritually close to me, who do business and who pay effort more than I do. People with high potential, highly developed skills, talking about vertical logic. It's about environment. You give away to the environment and you take from the environment. You give away even sometimes more than you take from it. So the environment consists of strong people who burn up. So the best cure for burn up is such a team of people who are close to you. It's difficult to say, you have to find the time for relaxation. Of course, you are busy on a 24/7 basis, but a time out is necessary. And you need another reality, a change of context. These are 2 key factors. So what about sleep? Do you have enough sleep? Well, overload is overload, but you have to refresh. So, CEO adequacy is one of his functional requirements. Yes, It's important for CEO to understand that he is responsible for the team. That's his function as well. So please deal with your own condition, with your own limits. That's his responsibility. Of course, HR and so on, that's important. Each leader has some time to work in this environment, in this setup, with this team. It's difficult. You have a lot of long careers and so on and so forth. So you have to realize your function as a right. So people expect adequate solutions from you, adequate environment building for you, from you. If you cannot do that, why are you the CEO? It's a question about your functional capacity. Good answer, thank you. So the first skill is to look at yourself, have a good spectrum, a good range of solutions, and be ready to ask for help. Especially for the Russian business culture, it's not an often thing. Thank you. We have different ways. Ask for help. Don't pretend to be the strongest and the most knowledgeable. Honestly say, I am tired. Yes, you are all fools. Don't be afraid to say that. And one more thing, what helped me all the time, if sports, theater, restaurant, and I switch off my phone when I'm there. I need some time to relax. If you work with a leader a CEO especially, if you work with him for the last 2 years, and from February 22, he was a leader all that time, pay attention to that leader. If he led the company to this excellent state, then he needs some help, in the good sense of this word. For the Russian business environment, it's quite typical. It's the people who dragged the company out of the mire, out of the critical situation, and continues doing that. If he has been doing it for 2 years, please let him have a rest, a bit rest, because in 3 years you might have problems. I can support it. My elder son is 13 years old. Once he said, "Mother, I overcame a deadly virus and the beginning of special operation, and I'm only 13 years old." And I fully agree that CEO should know his recipes. My friend is a designer. She had to take a rest twice a year, 3 years at a time. So she is super productive, super successful, but my system is different. In 4 days, I need something else. I need a rest. I need a short rest every week or 2. And you have to know what you need. Go to a psychologist or experiment on yourself. A leader must know that. These are peculiarities, individual peculiarities, and the leader must know it. If he doesn't, you have to help him and offer him that you are doing something which is not a typical thing for you to do. Dear online people, thank you for... Oh, we need a prize for the best question. So which question was the best? If you are here, come to us. If you are online, we shall think about something. What was the question about CEO? Bingo. Yes, we can easily find the person. About burn up.
Вручим людям по 2 футболки.
2 T-shirts. Yes. CEO, burn up. If you are here, please come to us and get your prizes. We stay here offline. We have tea, coffee, water, and we are going to find out if we have a plan for the future. Don't go away. Stay here. Thank you very much for being quite active. Please. It was a pleasure for the audience. Audience, applause for us.